Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try to take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgy kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. What you do for us is absolutely amazing, and we love that. And if you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as a link to our good friends at Critical Failures, where we're part of a live stream game every Wednesday now. Check us out and see the kind of madness we get involved in. All that out of the way, we're going to talk about the Bard of Creation. Bards are just a tricky class they really nailed down extremely well. There's a lot of different variations you can go based on your skill set. You kind of want to do a little bit of everything. You're very big on ability checks. You're what they call a skill monkey, which you're good at a tremendous amount of stuff because of expertise and a lot of the other things. You're a face because you're a charismatic spellcaster and you are a full spellcaster. That is where your main abilities come from. Spells do give you a variety of power levels and options at different levels, and with bards you get the ability to pick different spells at higher levels from other spell lists, which is very, very important to rounding yourself out. Based on how you want to do things, that will really affect what spells you choose, but for the most part you get a lot of supportive and or enchantment or illusion magic as a bard. So if you have the right DM, bards can be a resounding force in your campaign, but you do need to be risky in using some of those spells because they're not as easily applicable and do require a lot of finesse on your part. Again, it's one of the harder classes to play. Everybody loves a bard, but being a great bard is something that takes a lot of practice and homework. That being said, the College of Creation bard is very, very tricky again. It is a tough bar to really make the most out of, and you really play this supportive role and get a couple of cool tricks that you get to use. Your first ability is called Mote of Potential. Whenever you give a creature bardic inspiration, you can utter a note of the Song of Creation to create a tiny mote of potential, which orbits within 5 feet of that creature. The mote is intangible and invulnerable, and it lasts until the bardic inspiration die is lost. The mote looks like a music note, a star, a flower, or another symbol of art or life that you choose, which is a great little flavor text to kind of make it a little bit more personable. When the creature uses the bardic inspiration die, the mote provides an additional effect based on whether the die benefits an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, as detailed below. Ability check: when the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die to add it to an ability check, the creature can roll the bardic inspiration die again and choose which roll to use, as the mote pops and emits colorful, harmless sparks for a moment. Understand, ability checks can be life or death. If you're trying to save yourself from a trap that's sprung, or you're crossing a rickety bridge, or you're trying to climb a mountain and you're going to fail that check, this can be life or death for you. So understand, it does have applicable things outside of combat that are very, very beneficial. Attack roll: immediately after the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die to add it to the attack roll against the target, the mote thunderously shatters. The target and each creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of it must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, or take thunder damage equal to the number rolled on the bardic inspiration die. This is awesome. This gives you a bonus to the attack damage of the roll, which can make a big difference. It's a 5 feet AoE, so it is limited in space, but when you have things clustered together, this is a great boon. Sometimes you have character classes that need to land that hit. It doesn't matter if it crits or not, you just need that hit. A rogue, a paladin are those kinds of classes. So when you drop one of those things, boom, throw this out and run the risk. Your spell save DC as a bard should be pretty good, all things considered. And again, it's a Constitution saving throw, so cons might be high, but it's an easy way to add on some additional damage and help you, because AoE damage is not very popular with paladins and rogues who need to just land a hit. So it does help, and as your bardic inspiration die increases with size, so does this damage. It's worth it. The attack roll out of itself is very worth it to these classes, so definitely feel free to throw this on. Saving throw: immediately after the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die and adds it to a saving throw, the mote vanishes with the sound of soft music, causing the creature to gain temporary hit points equal to the number rolled on the bardic inspiration die, plus your charisma modifier, a minimum of 1 temporary hit point. Depending on what save this is, it gets better. In a situation where it's like fireball, so you take half damage, taking half damage but getting the temporary hit points and your charisma modifier on top of that can be very big, especially if you have casters that are holding on to concentration spells that you need to maintain in order to beat this game, or to beat this combat, or to survive this in combat. If you have a cleric with like aura vitality up and you guys are taking a real serious beating, that's a big thing to keep that up. You have a wizard up with like Evard's black tentacles up, that's a big thing to keep up. Holding them down and giving them the benefit of not only surviving AoE attacks, which could be very detrimental to them, but being able to reduce the amount of damage that they'll actually take is huge. Your next ability is Performance of Creation. This you also gain at 3rd level. As an action, you can channel the magic of the Song of Creation to create one non-magical item of your choice in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of you. The item must appear on a surface or in a liquid that can support it, and the GP value of the item can't be more than 20 times your bard level. The item must be medium or smaller, the item glimmers softly, and a creature can faintly hear music when touching it. The created item disappears after a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. For examples of items you can create, see the equipment chapter of the player's handbook. Once you created an item with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expended a spell slot of 2nd level or higher to use this feature again. You can only have one item created by this feature at a time. If you use this action and already have an item from this feature, the first one immediately vanishes. The size of the item you create with this feature increases by 1 size category when you reach 6th level, and to large, and at 14th level to huge. This is your I'm a tricky nasty person ability. You're leaving town, you know you're not going to be back for a while, create a bar of some sort of precious metal. Here you go. It's enchanted. Listen to it. It plays music when you touch it. Sell it off for a bunch of gold, skip town. Or use that to trade for other items and reduce the amount of gold cost for whatever it is you're doing. You're a face, so your deception and persuasion are pretty high. As long as you don't do this in front of them, that's a great way to create revenue for whatever it is you're trying to do. Again, items, depending on where you are, enchantments, things like that. Very, very cool, very deceptive. You will run a bad reputation for this, but it can be fun. Especially if you're leaving town, it almost feels like a victimless crime. 6th level. This is your key feature as a College of Creation bard. This is where you really want to be. This is a lot of fun because it does give you like one of the best, in my opinion, pets that you can get, or summons that you can get. As an action, you can animate one large or smaller non-magical item within 30 feet of you that is being worn or carried. The animate item uses the dancing item stat block, which uses your proficiency bonus. The item is friendly to you and your companions and obeys the commands. It lives for 1 hour until it is reduced to 0 hit points or until you die. In combat, the item shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action, unless you use a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. That action can be one on a stat block or some other action. If you're incapacitated, the item can take any action of its choice, not just dodge. When you use your Bardic Inspiration feature, you can command the item as part of the same bonus action to use your Bardic Inspiration. Once you animate the item as feature, you can't do so until you finish a long rest, unless you expand a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use this feature again. You can only have one item animated by this feature at a time. If you use this action and already have a dancing item from this feature, the first one immediately becomes inanimate. So a couple of things to understand from this. A, it has dark vision up to 60 feet. It is immune to any kind of spell or effect that would change its form. Any creature that starts its turn within 10 feet of them, this item can reduce its movement speed by 10 feet until the end of the turn. It also is immune to poison and psychic, charmed, exhaustion, poisoned, and frightened. It has a 16 natural armor, which isn't that bad. It has 30 feet movement speed, 30 feet flying speed, and its hit points is 10 plus 5 times your bard level. So it scales pretty nominally well. You can obviously cast, things on it that would bolster it in any way, shape, or form that you feel. It does have a melee attack that's 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus and force damage. That's per turn as a bonus action. Your spell attack modifier, you should be fine. This thing has a reach of 5 feet, so you gotta be in melee to use it. But it does provide a great thing to be a distraction or just additional damage to help push that damage meter a little further per round. The more attacks you have per turn, the more actions you can take, the faster you'll debilitate the enemy by reducing the amount of attacks they can make per turn. And once you've tipped that scales that you're making more attacks than they are, eventually you'll win the combat. But this is a great thing to throw out there. The once a day thing, I don't think it's that overpowered that it has to be just a once a day thing. I think it's strong. I think when you get it at 6, having 40 hit points is okay. You're not a genius. You're not like a super tank. 16 armor is good. It's not great by any means, but I think you should really be able to do this at least once per short rest, or at least twice or 3 times a day. I think that's fair, in my mind. Generally, when I run campaigns, I try to keep combats more of value than just repetitive, just to be repetitive. If we're in a dungeon, we're in a dungeon. It just kind of is what it is. But when you're not in that kind of circumstances, 1 or 2 combats a day is usually kind of where it sits, because I don't think you need to have more than that. Otherwise, it just becomes less story-driven combat, and I think story-driven combat is more important than just combat for the sake of combat. Your final ability is Creative Crescendo. When you use the Performance of Creation feature, you can create more than 1 item at once. The number of items equals your Charisma modifier, minimum of 2 items. If you create an item that would exceed that number, choose which of the previous created items disappears. Only one of these items can be the maximum size you create. The rest must be small or tiny. You are no longer limited by GP value when creating the items of performance feature. Now, if you were to create 5 items, your charisma modifier should be at 5 anyway, unless you have items that increase it beyond that, but you're looking at just 5. You're looking at 1,400 gold divided by 5, which is about 280. What you can do with this is really debatable. This ability and creation abilities are really dependent on your DM. Why this is at this kind of a level, I think, seems a little odd. I think this should remove the GP value to items like this. Don't get me wrong. It makes it insanely overpowered right off the bat, because if I can make 5 purple worms poisons, I would definitely do that. Granted, there's not a lot of things at 14th level unless you're on specific campaigns that are going to allocate you to be able to use that efficiently. But there are circumstances that would require you to create certain specialized items, or need to go out and find certain specialized items, but all of those would be magic anyway. So I don't understand what the creative idea behind this ability was. I would definitely have changed this into something and worked with Performance of Creation to kind of come up with a better thing, because I feel like a 14th level ability doesn't give you anything at this point. You're not getting, I mean, unless you're selling items the whole time, but then you're just a goldmonger and you're not actually questing or doing anything for adventuring purposes. Because it's not like you can combine the gold worth of each of these items and then make something. It doesn't work that way. And even with all the persuasion and deception, making these items, very rare is there a situation where you're going to be able to use these and then buy something that you can't afford anyway. At 14th level, you're not really buying many things outside of super rare components that you need basically for quest items. Other than that, you're finding them or using some other means to actually tangibly create them. Creatively, I think this is just one of those circumstances where they dropped the ball, especially for high-level campaigns. The College of Creation Bard is one of those bards that I think is fantastic for lower-level campaigns, which is why I really, really love that summon that you get, the animating performance. I think that's fantastic. I think that's a very awesome ability. I wish maybe you got a boost to that at the end at 14th level. Unfortunately, you don't. But I think that between 6 and 8 or 10 or 12 is really that great point for a campaign for a College of Creation bard, because you get a lot of things that you need, and you don't end up pushing yourself to a point where you're just like, what am I doing here? With that 14th level ability, I feel like really that definitely cripples you a lot. That being said, I think if you're going to play a lower level campaign, definitely give this a shot. It definitely feels better and stronger and worthwhile in that. Bards, again, are great in adventuring and role-playing campaigns because of what they can give you as far as being faces and being able to use spells to augment certain events, people, circumstances, dreams, ideas, enchantments, illusions, charms. I love that. In those kinds of campaigns, where those are more prudent and front-facing, bards tend to excel there. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you've made it this far, definitely give us a like and subscribe. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We can't say this enough. We absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends at Critical Failures, where we're part of a live stream game. Check us out Wednesday night. The link to both of those is in our description. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.